5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
We're in the pipe. 5 by 5.
This is the 5 on Film podcast.
Hello and welcome to 5 on Film, the podcast where we try and break down the top 5 in the world of film. I'm your host Paul Cree, and this week joining us are John.
Hello.
And we actually have 3 guests this week. We have returning guest Amelia.
Hello.
And first time guests Ali.
Yes. Hello, my friends.
He's here. And Dan. Welcome, Dan.
All right, guys.
Before we introduce the topic, this is how the show works. We're going to start off by nomination, then eliminating and ranking to try and get this week's top 5. Each of us will nominate a film, and if we get 3 yeses on that nomination, then it will go through to our initial list. Once we have 7 films, hopefully we'll make it 7 films that we all agree on, we're going to eliminate 2, leaving us with our top 5 for this week, and then we're going to rank those 5 films. Bit of housekeeping before we start. We're now on YouTube. Hopefully you're either watching or listening to us, because otherwise, how would you be listening to us? Yeah. So if you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Hit a like on this video. Share it on social media. It all helps us out. And if you're listening to us on the podcast feed, we're on YouTube. Come find us there. And our podcast feed is 5 on Film Podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts. So if you're watching us on YouTube, come and find us on the go if you need to. This week, Dan, one of our guests, has picked our topic. And Dan, what are we doing this week?
Right. So this week, seeing as it's October, I thought spooky vibes was a great topic to go with. I'm not a huge horror connoisseur. I always thought I was more into horror than I actually am. Like being a metal fan, I thought I've watched a lot of horror, and actually listening to your haunted house episode, I've missed out on so many films, and I realised actually the films that I like are more spooky vibes. Bit not all out gore, just borderline family friendly kind of stuff.
Excellent. Well, we're going to try and break down the top 5 spooky vibed films. This episode is coming out on Halloween, so anybody thinking of a spooky film for this evening, hopefully we'll give you at least 5 to pick from. So Dan, what is your first nomination? What do you think is the first film that deserves to be on this list?
Oh, they're creepy and kooky, mysterious and spooky. It's got to be The Addams Family. It's it's dark and macabre without actually being too scary. It's really funny. It's got the whole gothic vibe going on, but I think it's quite authentic. It doesn't feel too forced or contrived. I rewatched it recently and totally forgot about the opening scene. It starts with Christmas music, and I was like, oh crap! Have I chosen a borderline Christmas film? And then realised very quickly, actually, it's almost like an FU to the kind of the early Christmas worshippers, the August Christmas song listeners. And it's hang on, not yet. We've got Halloween first, because the Addams Family are waiting on top of the roof of their house, ready to pour boiling water on the carol singers outside the house. And that's how the film starts. Sets the tone for the rest of it. It's perfectly cast. I just think they've nailed it with the casting. Christina Ricci's in 3 of my films that I've got on my top 5 list. So she's almost like the Queen of Halloween, really. And one bit of trivia actually that I found out was that Thing, which is iconic, the spider hand, actually used to be like a large creature lurking in the background in the old comic strips that it was based off of. And actually the movie is turned it into the hand. The severed hand that runs around, and that character's iconic, really. I love it. I think it's great, and I think it's perfect, kind of almost family appropriate Halloween vibe.
Indeed. So we're talking about the the first version of this movie because it's now been turned into an animated feature in the past couple of years.
Yeah.
So, John, I'm coming to you first. Does the Addams Family deserve to be on this list?
The quick answer is yes, because I've been watching this. I've been watching the Addams Family since the reruns in the 80s, where Thing actually was an arm that reached out of a box on the table or behind the chair and things like that, and the lion rug, which everyone keeps tripping over and roars at them. Just interesting fact about that: the set for that was actually pink. In the original series, the Barry Sonnenfeld update with Raul Julia and Angelica Houston, very well cast, very different feel. Goes from the much darker gothic, twisted vibe. It hits a perfect tone, and Wednesday Addams is excellent. Even Pugsley with his cheery demeanor, not misdemeanor, cheery demeanor as he's walking around the house, walking into the next trap, or on purpose, or being set up to have his head chopped off by in the guillotine. This is perfect. So slightly older kids, my girls have seen it. They love it. They actually like the new animated one. We went to see that when that first came out, and of course the second animated one is out as we speak.
Yep.
So that's it's definitely a legacy, and it's definitely something that should be on our list.
Yep. I'm going to agree as well. So it's got 3 votes. So it's on the list, Dan. That is the first one for the list. Yeah.
There's no point in asking us,
It's got
mate.
3 votes. It's got 3 votes, so it's
Ali's
on
off.
now.
He's had enough.
I wouldn't. I think it's a wicked. I think it's a wicked.
I'll be round to you, Ali, in a second. It's only because I'm literally
doesn't
going
matter.
alphabetically, Ali. So that's why I came next. That's the only reason. So.
Hang on, yeah, A and then B, A.
Does it get more alphabetical?
At D, because Dan picked the topic, so I started at D. So now I've got to go to John, and then
He
to
just doesn't
me.
like people with the name A, Ali. That's it. If we start with A.
Oh.
So
Okay. Actually, the next person.
yeah, the next person will be you, Ali. So
Ali's just not used to coming second in anything. He's always first at everything. That's why his parents gave him the
No,
name.
hang on. You do know I'm not cutting this.
So I think Christopher Lloyd is excellent in this as well. I think that it is the one cast member that we missed there.
Oh,
But
it's
Christopher Lloyd
phenomenal.
Christopher Lloyd.
He's just amazing, and his turn in the second movie as well is brilliant. But in this first movie, I think he's awesome. He doesn't steal it because Raul Julia and Angelica Houston are pitch perfect. I don't think they could have cast it better. My girls have seen this version. My girls are 8 and 6, and they love this version. They've watched the updated version of the animated feature. I think it's just a timeless tale of this spooky, kooky family. And yeah, I love it. I remember watching this film at the cinema. So yeah, it's a yes from me. Ali, what do you think?
I wouldn't have. I think it's a wicked film, but I think.
Oh, for
I've
shame,
got
Ali, that's
some
not
films which are
enthusiastic.
stronger, which deserve
Okay,
to be
all
in
right.
there a bit more, but. It is enthusiastic. I've got a top 5, which I believe is stronger, but
Yeah, it's there. It's
it's
there.
on there now, ain't it?
It might get voted off at the end. It might, because we're going to go to 7. Ali, so yeah, you can knock it off at the end. So you're all
Oh,
right.
we can knock it off.
Right. Amelia, would you
Dad?
have said yes to the Addams Family?
So are we saying yes to the first or the second instalment, or are we taking them as both? Because I think that's...
No, I But someone else might nominate Values. So
Well-
would have you said yes to the first Addams Family?
I think I would have said yes, definitely. But there
Yeah.
might be another
Okay.
instalment that I may be about to mention later on in the
Maybe,
programme.
maybe.
Maybe.
Okay. Right. So Addams Family has made this initial list. I'm going to John next, Ali, just because he alphabetically comes after Dan. So John, what film do you think should be nominated next, John?
Well, yeah, this is a nostalgia trip, taking me back to my 7th birthday. This was the first time I ever had to queue round the block for a film. 7 years old, me and a group of my friends and my mum and dad all went to see this one. When we got in there wasn't enough seats for us all to sit together. I ended up sitting up in the gods, basically right at the back. This one is classed as a comedy, but then it just creeps. It's just got some excellent scary moments. It's really good at building the atmosphere. Basically, who are you going to call?
Ghostbusters! That was so nice.
So I'll fix it in the edit. Yeah, Ghostbusters. It starts off as something. It starts off as an old woman putting books in bookshelves, and then all of a sudden, things start floating behind her. Now it just starts creepy in its first 5 minutes, and she's just walking around putting books on shelves and things like that. Then the cards start flipping out the drawers, and she runs around the corner, and all of a sudden there's a big bright light, and straight in, and then it's Peter Venkman torturing students, doing ESP tests. It's played for laughs. The poor kid getting electric shocked even when he's getting the cards right, and his gum just dropping out of his mouth. Picking it up and putting it back in, and obviously he's also taking. Peter Venkman's also trying to hit on the female student, who's also the pretty female student who's also doing the test, and not electrocuting her. All of a sudden, Ray storms in. He blows the mood, blows everything out of the water, and just starts grabbing Kit, really excited. And it's just a great. It's got some great scares. It's got great atmosphere building. It's got, the guy in the taxi cab. He gets in the taxi cab, and the driver, he goes, take a step on it. And the guy, it's kind of this furry, desiccated skeleton type thing, but it's real. I mean, apart from the light effects in it, most of the stuff in that film is physical. For the floating books and the cards flying out of Rolodexes, and destroying food trolleys and things like that. A lot of it is actually covering everybody in marshmallow. It's all a product of its time, but it really works. Now, having rewatched it, some of it isn't. It's not as child friendly as you might think. Especially when Ray starts having a close sexual encounter about halfway through the montage of them catching ghosts. And the ghost starts getting rather frisky with his trousers.
Yeah, I was going to say, I forgot about that.
Where they start taking the mickey out of William Atherton's character for having no penis. It's so.
This man has no dick.
It's true. This man has no dick.
The guy who let all the ghosts out of the chamber.
Well, basically, the Con Ed guy shuts down the protection grid, and they all escape.
I remember.
The other one being the side characters are brilliant as well. Yeah, but the side characters as well. You've got Rick Moranis as the guy across the hall who's a complete and utter dweeb of an accountant, and yet he's having a raging party. And then you've got Janine, and she is amazing on her own. And just she's excellent. And even Winston, who isn't actually in it, he doesn't really hit his stride in this one, but he's there, and he's written enough to be a good character. Everybody is it all kind of works and gels, and you can see why any attempt after has kind of not worked. So, but no, I'm Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters should be on this list.
It should be, and yes, I'm going to wholeheartedly agree. This is so sorry, John. This was made the year that I was born.
Get out.
I much like you. Yeah, I know. Yeah, sorry. But I much like you remember vividly going to the cinema to see Ghostbusters 2 when I was 5 years old in 1989, and that was the first film I can remember ever going to see at the cinema.
I then went to go see
2.
Ghostbusters 2 with my mates when that came out. So that was my birthday as well.
So I can vividly remember going to see Ghostbusters 2, which means that I was less than 5 years old and I'd seen the first Ghostbusters. So probably not appropriate, but I loved it. I think the first film is an absolute classic. The three Ghostbusters themselves, Ray, Egon, and Venkman, they're perfect. Sigourney Weaver, Rick Moranis, everybody puts in a brilliant performance. And like this film was made like in 11 months or something crazy like that, from pitch to screen. What they managed to achieve in such a short amount of time and make this absolutely classic film. Most of it shot in Los Angeles because that's the only way they could do it, but it felt like New York. So yeah, I think they did an outstanding job, and I mean, you can tell now that Ghostbusters 2, although I have fond memories of Ghostbusters 2 from seeing it as like the first film I went to the cinema to see, it's not the first movie. The film that they released a few years ago, I thought was one of the worst films that was released the year that it came out. But that being said, I'm looking forward to seeing Ghostbusters Afterlife, which will be coming out shortly after this podcast is released.
Soon.
So they're returning. So yeah, I'm excited about that. So that's 2 votes. Ali, is it going to go on the list?
100%.
There we go.
100%. It's on my list. I love it. It is a wicked film. And like, as you said, like all the characters. I'm a massive Bill Murray fan. And Rick Moranis is amazing as well. Everyone's amazing. And I actually went, so it wasn't last November, because I would have been locked down the November before. I went to like some of because I went to New York, but the original fire station, the exterior. I've forgotten the name of it.
Hook and Ladder. I think.
But it's in Brooklyn. We went to Brooklyn. Hook and Ladder. We went there, and I got some like photos in front of it. I love it. I saw Ghostbusters 2 in the cinema as well. But what year did Ghostbusters 2 come out? What year was that?
89.
Ghostbusters was 84, and 89 was Ghostbusters 2.
So I would have been 10. Probably, yeah. But yeah. Definitely on my list. So I put 1 and 2. Cause the second one, that picture in the second one, so freaky, that guy. That painting is so... that freaked me out loads. I remember seeing that in the cinema. That was freaky. But
I was freaked out. I was 5 years old and I was freaked.
Yeah, and I found, in the first one, what I found really scary was, do you know those 2 dog statues when they're chasing Rick Moranis? And then they like hunt him down, and that's like, ugh! And even the fridge, when they go inside the fridge and they've got the whole...
Actually,
what's that character in the fridge?
The scariest part of that film for me is when Sigourney Weaver's talking to her mum on the phone, and then the hands come out of the chair and basically hold her in the chair, and then drag her into the kitchen.
As well.
That gave me a few nightmares as a kid.
Yeah, but it's proper. Right. Yeah, but it's like what you said, John. It's a comedy, but It's got the scary elements in it. It's a classic film. And it's probably got one of the best cars in film for Ecto-1. For Batmobile, you've got the DeLorean, you've got the Ecto-1, but it's an amazing car as well. But iconic, but it's definitely on my list, 100%.
Nice one. It has made the list. Amelia, would have you said yes to Ghostbusters?
Oh yeah, of course. It's an iconic film. It's one of those, for me being slightly younger, it's the Saturday afternoon film. So I've watched Ghostbusters many times, but probably not all the way through because I fell asleep at some point. You know, like there's a nice film that you know what's going to happen. You can fall asleep, you know, but I think I've always just fallen asleep at different times. So I've probably never seen Ghostbusters in its entirety in one go. So maybe I need to go back and watch again and stay awake this time. But yes, it should be definitely on the list.
Nice one. And Dan?
100%. Yeah, it's an incredible film. I can't top what Ali said, but yeah,
Excellent.
Brilliant. I've been to New York a couple of times, never been to the set, unfortunately, but yeah, it's definitely on my to-do list.
The
I'd like to
soundtrack,
visit.
and it's also one of those soundtracks that you just seem to, it seems to lodge as well. I mean, you actually listen back to it now; it doesn't seem that good, but actually in situ in the film, it works. It just hits all the right notes. So
Yeah.
I feel like
And
it's
that's weird
of an
because
era as well where soundtrack was like really paid attention to. Like that, I don't know. I feel like Dan Aykroyd movies always seem to have kind of quite good soundtrack. Even the bit with the they're going across the car, and you're saying Winston isn't like fully formed as a character really in this one, but they're on the bridge, sort of having their chat, and he's sort of saying about it's the end of days. He's obviously a very religious guy, and then Dan Aykroyd's just like I can't remember exactly the line, but he's like. Probably time to put some music on, and then the soundtrack kicks in, and it's just. And I think it's
and then they do the big pull
awesome.
out over the out from the bridge, helicopter shot,
You can see see the car.
Yeah, I'm a real sucker for like New York like skyline shots and stuff. So yeah, I love that bit.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well,
because the car in itself is a character, right? So then you get to see that like as it's going through the city.
New York is just a key feature, and I think the car shows the city off as well. It is, It is one that definitely deserves to be on there. And
Definitely.
I'm now coming to me. So we've got two films. I'm going to try and make a third, and I'm going to go a little bit off the wall. And there was two movies where Puppet Master Frank Oz popped into my head for this list.
Empire Strikes Back.
And sorry. So I'm going to go with a movie that was written and starring David Bowie and one of my childhood crushes, Miss Jennifer Connelly. I absolutely love The Labyrinth and have done for many a year. I think this film has a number of scares in it, considering it is a film that is rated U. It's got some very freaky creatures, goblins, gremlins. There is a storming of a castle scene, and you just don't. For me as a kid, I was scared by that. There was bits of this storming the castle that I was scared of. There's a scene. Jennifer Connelly's character ends up in a labyrinth looking for her very annoying little step brother, half brother. I don't know, because she wants him to be taken away. Baby brother, yeah. Is it just his baby brother? Yeah, you're right. But she hates him, and she wants him gone, and she wants the Goblin King to take him away. And the Goblin King does, and she's got just 13 hours to save him before he becomes one of the goblins. And she has to battle through the labyrinth. And I can vividly remember absolutely loving the song Magic Dance when that pops up and we're throwing a baby around. And then also being... literally, he throws that baby up in the air a lot of times during that song. And I also can remember being scared as Jennifer Connelly picks a door that she wants to walk through, and walks through this door when she works out that this is the correct door, because one person always lies and one person always tells the truth. And as she walks through this door, she just drops and falls, and there's a load of hands that just grab her. And these hands, they're just hands, but they're freaky as, and you just don't know where you're going to be dropping and where you're going to be going to. And she meets Hoggle, and she all sorts of stuff. I just think that the movie is Ludo, and I remember the Bog of Eternal Stench, and just thinking that I would never ever want to visit the Bog of Eternal Stench. I think this movie. I've introduced this movie to my girls, and my girls would absolutely love it as well. I think that although it's definitely family friendly, there are moments in this that as a kid I was freaked out, but I still loved it. So that's my slightly off the wall pick for this spooky vibes. So Ali, what do you think of the Labyrinth?
Nah.
Yes.
Nah. It's too. I really like weird and I really like crazy, but this is just a bit too weird and a bit too. There's something about it I don't like. Maybe it's the look of it, or do you know when there's something you just don't like about a film, whatever it might be, the style of it, or. And I've only seen it once, so it's not a fair judge. You know, I can't, and I can remember it vaguely. So it might not be a fair, choice to say no. But from what I remember of it, I don't really like it. So
okay.
And there's better films on the list.
Okay.
There's better films on the list, so it's got to be a no.
Okay. Amelia, the Labyrinth.
So again, I only watched it once as an adult, and talking about Hoggle, who is amazing. Apparently he had 18 motors in his face, and he was operated by 4 people. Wow. And there was actually an actress having to operate Hoggle inside, and he got lost in transit, and he's now on display in the Unclaimed Baggage Centre in Alabama. So you can still go and hopefully visit him at some point.
Is that like, I feel like I saw a picture.
I'm still going to say no. I will Google it and I will find this picture, but I'm going to say no just because I watched it as an adult, but I do love Hoggle, the character, and I enjoyed it. I just prefer other films more. I
feel like I have a lot of nostalgia vibes for this film. Yeah. So Dan, can you keep this film alive or not?
It like almost made my list, and the reason it didn't is because I wasn't sure if it quite fit the quota, but there's no way I can say no to Labyrinth. There's just no way. It's a film of my childhood as well. I grew up with my parents were massive David Bowie fans. I was in my mum's tummy when she went to go see him, so there was always a film that was on at home. And it's just a brilliant film. I think I've got so much fond memories of it, and it's dark as well. Like you were saying with the scene where they she drops through that cave and she's caught by the hands and up or down, and I still as a kid would try and figure out how to do the faces and stuff that the hands would do. Obviously
the faces that the hands made,
it's incredible. So for me it's at least on the preliminary list it's definitely got to be on there.
Nice. And the other bit was the moment where she ate the peach. So that freaked me out as a kid. So John, you now have to decide the fate of the Labyrinth as to whether it's going on this list or not. Because we have 2 yeses and 2 nos.
I have introduced my kids to this as well. To be fair, it's kind of one that's always kind of been there, but I've never actually kind of engaged with it properly. David Bowie is a great draw. Apparently, he actually plays the dad at the beginning as well. I was this week old when I found that out.
What? Although that makes sense because at the end, there's all the artifacts are kind of dotted around her room, and it's like little nods to things. It's one of those
thing, isn't it?
Yeah, you can see where that inspired that. It's obviously a play on her imagination kind of thing.
Yeah, but you also got the bit where she goes, the Goblin King, the goblins, and the goblins in the cupboard just sitting there going, what, yeah, what, waking up and going, well, all you had to say was Goblin King. I wish you to take my brother away.
Yeah.
That's what you got to say. Dance magic
Right now.
Yeah, dance magic. Dance magic is the standout of that. I mean, and she does look beautiful in that dress at the end.
A dog riding a dog as a horse. It makes no sense. But
a fox.
is it meant to be a fox?
Yeah,
a fox riding a dog.
Yeah, he's a little fox riding a dog.
Watching it again recently, the fire sprites section doesn't quite work. The CSO, you can see the joins.
I was gonna say
you can.
I watched it recently.
It's a nice fantasy, but I don't think it's kind of scary enough. So I think I'm going to say no for the Labyrinth.
Okay, all right. Well, we're still at 2 films then. So
I did find a picture of Huddle in the museum. There you go. I don't know if anyone can see that.
No,
I can't see it at all.
Just when my camera breaks.
I mean,
Anyway, I'll send you the picture.
It's terrifying. I've seen it before, and it's just it's like decomposed. It's horrible. But if that's the picture you're looking at,
That's just my normal face.
Right, Ali.
Well,
I'm around to you. I know alphabetically you should have gone first, but it's your turn.
well, I actually didn't know this was a Halloween kind of film. It has got a Halloween scene in it, and I'm sure it qualifies because it's on John's list. Do you know the IMD list? It's on the list. So I'm going to say it because not only is it a great film, but it's the best film ever made. And it's E.T. It's a wicked film. And of course it's got a Halloween scene in it because, you know, when he's in the dressed up as a ghost. But this is a really weird thing. To me, I reckon my earliest memory in the cinema, so I would have been 4 when this came out in the cinema. And I remember my parents, and this is my earliest memory as a child. All I remember is like in a cinema, pitch black, and just a red tummy. Do you know his red tummy? And that is my earliest memory as a child. And I don't know if that's something I've just completely made up, but that is a memory. I remember being in a really big room with like a red, like the glowing tummy, like running through the forest. But it's my favourite film of all time. It's a wicked family film. And I introduced this to like my girls, and my youngest one is Senna. I think she saw it. She's 7 now, a couple of years ago, so she would have been 5. And her reaction was exactly the same as, do you know, Drew Barrymore. When she sees E.T. for the first time, her reaction, I just loved watching her face. Do you know when his hands come up, and then he creeps up the stairs, and when you see him for the first time? Her reaction was amazing. But it's a favourite film. It's an amazing Spielberg film. And I remember reading up about it, like Spielberg shot it in order. So the kids kind of, like Elliot and like the other kids, they kind of had a relationship with E.T. And then when he goes into hospital, like it was like their proper reactions. And if you watch Elliot's screen test video, it's incredible. Have you guys seen it? It's amazing. He proper breaks down in tears when they're taking E.T. away from him. I think it's a great family film.
it's like really emotional watching it.
It's really emotional. It's really funny. It's sad. It's got all the elements you want from a film. It's a great kids film. It's a great family film, and that is why it's got to be on the top 5 because Matt Hines killed E.T. in the other one, so we've got to bring him back to life. we've got to bring E.T. back to the top 5.
Okay. Amelia?
Well,
how are you feeling about E.T.?
In that case, I think it's still got to be a definite yes, hasn't it? I mean, I quite like this fun fact that apparently M&Ms were originally going to be used to lure E.T. in the film, but M&Ms didn't want their brand used in it, so that's why there's Reese's Pieces. And they really regretted their decision because Reese's Pieces skyrocketed in sales after the film. So that could have been M&M's could have had a whole new business line there. But yeah, I think E.T. is a lovely film, and I definitely should be on the list.
Okie doke. Dan?
Oh,
E.T.?
it's a hard one. To me, it doesn't count as a Halloween film as such. But I've just said yes to Labyrinth. So
Yeah.
Labyrinth didn't make it.
Yeah.
Labyrinth
But
didn't make
E.T.'s
it.
on the
I mean,
list.
to me,
E.T.'s on
I
the
think
Halloween
you're right.
list.
There is the Halloween scene in it. Yeah, I mean, yeah, because of the Halloween scene, I think, and obviously you see in that scene you've got Yoda as well,
Yeah.
which is why E.T. is in a Star Wars film. If you look really closely in Phantom Menace,
Yeah.
So there is that scene. But I don't know if it's got enough of a Halloween feel to it for me to say yes. I'm going to
Does
say
it
no.
give you that spooky vibe?
Does it have enough
Yeah, I don't think.
spooky vibe?
Yeah, I don't think it has
It's got
spooky
nothing
vibes. I'm going to say no.
Halloween,
I'm
is it?
afraid
No, you've got no Halloween
it's
things.
spooky though.
It's got spooky
No.
vibes.
So we got one
It's got spooky
no.
vibes.
So, John, there's 2 votes. Are you going to give it a third?
Well, E.T. I'm old enough to have had the T-shirt and the Panini sticker album, and to remember sitting on the sofa, watching it on a video, on a top-loading video machine. And then wondering why the heck I was bawling my eyes out. That's how old I was. You know what? Spielberg is very good at doing suspense, but I don't think it's spooky. It's not. It doesn't give me the horror vibes. It gives me the thriller vibes, but it's not really
Thriller vibes. Yes.
It's not like it. Well, it's not kind of not a. It's not a horror to me. It's not scary. It's tense. It's got tension, but I don't think I can actually put it on the list. So
Disappointing.
Ali,
Very disappointed.
we've got 2 yeses
what
and 2
happens.
nos.
Oh, Mr.
Come round to
Paul.
me.
well,
And I'm gonna kill E.T. this week.
Ouch.
I'm sorry, Ali. I'm sorry.
Ouch! Yeah, ouch!
So. Oh. Yeah. I don't find it. I mean, it's a lovely film. It is a lovely film, but it wasn't in Spielberg's top 5 as we established last show. And for me, it is a great film. It's a lovely film, but I don't think it counts as a spooky enough film. I mean, it is about an alien coming to this planet, so that in itself is a little bit spooky.
Yeah.
But
And there's loads
I
of them
feel-
as
I feel
well.
like
When
it
the
has-
ship opens,
it has the family vibe.
there's not
more.
just one of them. There's like loads of them in there.
Yeah. Yeah. But I'm afraid this week it's not Matt, it's me that's killing E.T. So E.T. has not made the list.
oh dear.
So we're still
dear.
at 2. Amelia, have you got number 3? Come on.
Fingers crossed. So I'm going to go with another childhood classic. I'm going to go with Casper the Friendly Ghost. Now, because this is from my childhood, I did think maybe the effects have not aged well, but I can confirm that it's still fine. They're still all good. So Casper was actually the first feature film to have a fully CGI character in the lead role. So it was quite sort of forward thinking at the time, but there's also as well lots of amazing cameos. So you've got Dan Aykroyd at the start, because he runs out as a Ghostbuster saying we can't deal with this problem, basically. And also there's cameos from Mel Gibson, and of course you've got Eric Idle in it as well, and it's a fantastic family film. There's actually a couple of swear words in there which I didn't realise, so if you do have children and they're a little bit sensitive to the B word, maybe wait a couple of years. It's such a good film, and Christina Ricci is of course amazing, and I feel like I may have stolen this from Dan, so apologies Dan, but yes. I really do think it's a great family film that should be in the top 5.
Nice. Well, Dan,
that's the second of my Ricci trio.
Trifecta.
Yeah, so yeah, definitely for me. It's brilliant. Yeah, this, as Amelia said, the CGI like holds up really, really well. I only watched it recently to remind myself, and it was it looks really good. And it was, as everyone said, like their first films at the cinema. I don't know if it was my first, but it's one of the earliest cinema memories. And I think I actually cried at the scene where he explains how he died, because I think the film invented that as well. I don't think they originally had like an origin story for Casper, and because it's based on. I thought it was based on comic strips, like the Addams Family was, but actually I think it started out as like little cartoon shorts, like Looney Tunes styly stuff from back in the day. And apparently the guy who invented Casper, it was 2 guys. One of them was off at war, and the other guy sold the rights to the animation company for like $170 or something, and that was all they saw of the rights to that character. Which is just mental if you think about it. But it's definitely got to go on the list. It's probably the family friendly Halloween film, so it's got to go on the list.
John?
This is the Haunted House film that didn't get anywhere near our list, unfortunately. That said, it's actually a really, really grown-up, complex film. It's dealing with the idea of life after death and reincarnation, and if you sat and talk, being able to talk to dead people and grief and all these deep-seated, deep-rooted adult themes, and yet they managed to make it into a knockabout comedy with Eric Idle and I can't remember the lady's name. It's really funny too. It's really well written. It's very snappy on the dialogue. Bill Pullman actually plays his nice guy character, nice dad character really well, really nicely, The three uncles are really, really nasty. They really just let them be horrible pieces of work, and all to the benefit. Yes, this is.
Just to add to what you said.
Sorry, this
just
is
add
one.
Sorry, mate. Just to add what you're saying about it being really heartfelt. If you think of all the other kind of films that are based on cartoons, how they end up turning out, it's just like Garfield and Cat in the Hat and films like that. They just feel like really, just throwaway films. And yet Casper, based on a cartoon where every episode is basically the same. He scares people, then teaches people maybe not to judge, and that he's not actually scary, on repeat every episode. And they made that out of it.
Yeah, I mean, weirdly, my eldest daughter has seen this, and actually, she's going to kill me when she grows up. Fancies the human Casper. She may not be old enough to understand it, but she's old enough to know that she's got feelings for the flesh and blood Casper at the end.
I mean, to be fair, like Casper was crushing on Cat for the whole show, so I think it was all about teenage crushes. Really.
Yeah, well, it's really cool. Christina Ricci showed that she wasn't just a one-note goth chick. She plays the dark as well, but it's she's kind of like the foil, and it works. It's a lovely film. Yeah, I think
It really is. It was in my grouping of like down just below my top 5 when I made this list, but I introduced this to my girls. They really enjoyed it, and that human version of Casper is Devon Sawa, who later went on to be famous for
Final Destination.
Final Destination.
Yes.
Yeah, Final Destination's Devon Sawa is young boy Casper.
He's also in a film called Idle Hands, which will not go anywhere near
Idle
this.
Hands, which no. With Jessica Alba. Interesting movie. Idle Hands. Yes. But yeah, no, I'm quite happy with Casper to go on the list.
I wouldn't
Ali?
have. Nah.
Do you like the friendly
I think
ghost?
it's boring. I don't like Casper. I don't know. Just as a character, I didn't find him.
It was produced by Steven Spielberg, Ali.
But Spielberg already did the best film
Yeah,
ever
it's a
made,
Spielberg
so
movie.
everything else was average afterwards. I think as a character, I just didn't find him. He wasn't fun enough. He wasn't. I don't know. He was a bit kind of like telling you what's right and wrong always, weren't he? A little bit. Kind of a bit of a
No. He was the nice guy character.
Yeah, but I think he was too.
He was the
nice.
friendly ghost.
And too friendly. Which is wicked. It's good to be friendly. No, I
Wanted a
just
bit
didn't-
more edge, wanted to be rude
I
occasionally.
never found Casper fun. I just didn't find him a fun character. So I would. It wasn't on my list. It wasn't.
Okay.
Fair enough.
But it's what you like, isn't it? I'll do it.
Okay. Well, we've got 3. Dan, we're all the way back round to you. Can you give us a 4th one?
Okay, so to round off the Ritchie trilogy, this one's going to be a real punt in the family-friendly stakes, as I've rewatched it recently, and maybe it is a little bit near the knuckle, but all right, I'm going to go with it anyway. Tim Burton. Had to have a Tim Burton film on the list. It might not be the one you were expecting. It's got Johnny Depp in it, Christina Ricci, in the 1700s, I think.
Yes.
It's Sleepy Hollow, and it's definitely one that I watched growing up, and was maybe a bit young for it. I don't know, but I always found it to be like it was like that bright side of horror. You never really fully see what's going on, and a lot of the scares are insinuated. But then I do think actually on a rewatch there are some bits that are actually quite gory. But I don't know. I still don't think it's like all out and out terror. So I think I'm going to try and stick it on the list.
Okay. John, Sleepy Hollow?
Oh, well, it's not Sweeney Todd. I'd kind of forgotten about this one, so I haven't actually thought about this one. But yeah, I definitely towards the upper end of the family friendly, but I wouldn't necessarily say that it's not a bad choice, because it's definitely Johnny Depp kind of brings the humour out in it. Christopher Walken is nasty in it. Yeah, okay. I'd give that a punt. Yeah, I'd watch that on a Halloween with my kids. Maybe in a couple of years, but yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I remember going and seeing this movie at the cinema, and I remember sneaking into it because I feel like I was 13 or 14, and it was definitely rated 15 in the UK. And it is a good film, but for me, it's just it's too much on that gore side. It definitely I mean, it's about a headless horseman, and yeah, my 8-year-old would be really scared. So for me, all that, and to be fair, there is another Tim Burton movie with Johnny Depp that I feel falls a lot closer into this list than that one for me. So yeah, as a Halloween movie with some scares in it. So it's a no from me. Ali, Sleepy Hollow?
Yeah, it's a no from me as well. I've only seen it once.
Yeah.
It's another film which is... But I never thought about it as well. I didn't consider it, even though, yeah, it's a good shout out. But it's not a... There's other films I would prefer to be on the list. And I've only seen it once. So I feel it's another unfair judgment, me saying no, but... Yeah, it's a no from me.
Should definitely watch it again, though.
Right.
Yeah, I'll definitely watch it again.
It's a good watch. It's not a bad film.
That's a good thing about this podcast you guys do, because I've watched films which you guys have mentioned which I haven't seen before. And you, Paul, were saying, well, that's kind of the point of the show, to make you watch films. And I did that with the Tom Cruise one, because I'm not a Tom Cruise fan, and I watched Collateral. I was like, wow, that's an amazing film. But yeah, definitely, I'll give it another watch.
So yeah,
Dan, I'll watch it, but it's a no from me this time.
Watching it over Halloween.
Yeah.
So Amelia, Sleepy Hollow, you're the deciding vote.
I've never seen it, so I'm going to have to say no. But apparently Johnny Depp took home one of the torture devices that were featured in the film. He fell in love with them and apparently took it home. So that's the only thing that I can contribute. But sadly, I've never seen it, so I can't say yes.
It seems like really impractical surgical tools that seem to be like one too many parts, but he's built them himself.
Yeah. Apparently, it was from the courtroom scene with Christopher Lee when he can be seen strapped. A man can be seen strapped into a device that prevents him from fleeing, and apparently he fell in love with the contraption and was allowed to take it home with him after filming.
Bit worrying when he wanted to do one of them.
Yeah.
That's a spooky fact for the day.
Yeah. Okay.
Now,
Well, unfortunately, Dan.
Go
on, John.
Sorry, just quickly. The more family friendly version of this would be Disney's The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad, which is actually it's two stories put together. One being Kenneth Williams' Wind in the Willows with Mr. Toad, and the other one being Washington Irving's Headless Horseman. And it only runs, I think it's 35 minutes, if that. And I remember watching that for our Disney podcast, because I was trying to catch all those little ones in between. And
I do like a bit of dark Disney, and it's definitely worth the watch. Seeing as it's so short as well. I mean, I didn't like the Mr. Toad bit, but yeah, definitely like the Headless Horseman bit.
But that's definitely got a scare in it as well. It definitely plays with the emotions.
Well, unfortunately, Dan, Sleepy Hollow hasn't made it.
I did expect that result, unfortunately.
There's one more with Christina Ricci that might get mentioned at some point. Amelia has insinuated. John, what have you got for us as your second choice?
Oh, is it me again?
It is.
I'm going to go for... Well, I'm just going to say Three Sisters. Anybody?
Hocus Pocus.
Perfect. Hocus Pocus. The trio of Sarah Jessica Parker, Kathy Najimy, and Bette Midler just hamming it up to the max as the Sanderson sisters in a film where they're basically trying to steal the souls of children so they can stay young forever. With being chased, and those kids suddenly realizing that they shouldn't be messing with things in haunted houses, or otherwise they're going to wake up witches and they're going to come after you. The idea is it Bootstrap? Is it Bootstrap Billy? I can't remember.
Sounds about
right. The zombie who's forever following them around, who's actually Doug Jones, who has done everything from Saru in Star Trek Discovery to Abe Sapien in Hellboy. In fact, works a lot on Del Toro's films.
He was in Oscar-winning movie The Shape of Water.
Yes, he's the fish man, but he's also he's also in Pan's Labyrinth as
wicked film.
eye hand guy.
Yep,
things like that. He does all he's a guy who's just got a very weird stature and is very happy exploiting that for interesting characters. It is when the parents are going to the Halloween party, the clueless parents of it. It's brilliant, and then they put the spell on them in the dance by singing at them, and they end up partying till dawn, and they're wondering what the heck's happened. And also a story about brothers and sisters. Brothers taking care of sisters and things like that. I really like this one. It's a family favourite. In fact, I actually think there's a screening going on in the next few days, which my wife may be going to.
Ooh.
So nice. I'm gonna say yes to Hocus Pocus. I vividly remember "I Put a Spell on You" by Bette Midler. That song. Yeah, this. I think this film came out when I was like about 10, and it hit me at the right age. I introduced it to my girls last Halloween. They watched it on Halloween last year. I felt like it was the perfect Disney movie to watch on Halloween for them. So I don't think there's anything better for family-friendly Halloween. So for me, Hocus Pocus has got to go on the list, and Hocus Pocus 2 comes out this year.
There's a sequel?
On Disney Plus. There is a sequel.
Literally.
With all 3 original Sanderson sisters returning, coming out exclusively to Disney Plus.
Have they
Halloween.
got Omri Katz back? That's the question.
But the Bette Midler, Sarah Jessica Parker, and I can't even remember.
Kathy
Chloe,
Najimy.
Kath. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I would have ruined her name. So yes, who I just remember as the lady from Sister Act. But yeah, I think it's a great film. So, Ali,
No.
Hocus Pocus.
No.
No.
I like Sister Act. Sister Act's wicked, but no, I don't know. Is it fair to say it's a chick flick? Is it a chick flick? I don't know, but.
It's just got a load of women in it. Should we make it a chick flick?
No.
Hang on.
No, Ali, no.
The virgin in it's a boy.
Yeah.
I don't know. No, it's not.
Yeah.
I always went with, when I was like looking at films for this for your show, it always comes up. It was up there at the top, like loads of times. I remember looking at it thinking, I have seen it. I have seen it, but I still think there's better. Even though E.T. didn't make it to the list, but Ghostbusters, like I've agreed with so far.
Can't wait to see the rest of this list.
Actually, Ghostbusters. For me, not for me.
Okay. Amelia, what do you think of Hocus Pocus?
So again, I've only watched this as an adult and I didn't really like it that much, so I'm going to say no. But it turns out Leonardo DiCaprio was apparently offered more money than he could ever imagine to play Max, and he turned down the role.
Wow.
So again, I feel like that's a loss. But yeah, I'm gonna say no, I'm afraid.
Okay, so now we're rolling around to Dan with a deciding vote on Hocus Pocus.
How many spots we got left?
We have three left after this. This would be number 4 if it made it on.
I feel like it does. It does deserve to go on the list. So yes, it hits all the right Halloween notes. I mean, it's set at Halloween. It's got 3 spooky witches in it. It's family friendly. It's one that you can watch with the kids.
It's got child death. It's got
all the important themes. It's got to go on the list. Yeah.
Excellent. So Hocus Pocus has made the list. So Ali, we have the Addams Family, Ghostbusters, Casper the Friendly Ghost, and Hocus Pocus. So can you give me a fifth film?
Well, I guess
to make the
it's
list?
got to be a strong one, ain't it? It's got to be a strong contender, this one, because if I go for one which is a little bit further down my list, it's not going to make it, is it? But I did want to... Can I mention a film I wanted to put on the list?
Depends if it's spooky or
It's
not.
spooky, and it's like a proper... It's a proper kids version of Sleepy Hollow. 'Cause it's got a headless knight in it. It is Keenan and Kel. Two heads are better than one. It is a wicked film. Keenan and Kel, two heads are better. It is literally like the headless knight. They go to this creepy haunted house, and it is proper funny. It's got like jokes in it. It's scary. Like, have you seen it? Like when they're sitting around the table. And
How
the
have I
guy's
seen
head
this
isn't
film?
on
I
properly.
love Keenan and Kel.
And like he's eating soup, and all the soup's like squirting out of his neck because his head's not on properly. So Keenan and Kel, I would have mentioned, but I don't think any of you guys are gonna want that on the list. So I'm gonna go for Gremlins.
I'm going to shock you, Ali.
Yeah?
I haven't seen it.
Wow.
Have you seen it, Dan?
John
You're a
has to
massive
see it.
Keenan and Kel fan.
That's what I mean. I feel like I thought I would have seen it, but I've not seen
Amelia?
it. So I don't think it's got much of a chance, mate.
No.
No one's seen
Do you
it.
know what? I
Orange
love
soda.
Keenan and Kel. Kel loves orange soda.
I do like Keen.
I mean, I'm going to say yes because Keenan and Kel was like part of my childhood. I mean, I can't find any useful facts because I didn't know this film existed up until 2 seconds ago. But I'm going to say yes because I love Keenan and Kel. Thank you, Ali.
But
I'm fairly certain because
Yeah, so-
everybody
so
else
I'm
said
not-
no.
I'm not going with that. I'm
Ali,
not going
with
give
that.
us-
I'm gonna
give
go
us-
with
Give us your
Gremlins.
genuine.
Ah,
Gremlins is a wicked film.
Nice.
It's a scary
Gremlins.
film, and it's not crazy scary, is it? It's not like gruesome, but the actual characters are pretty like freaky. And even Gizmo is an amazing character. I remember watching it, and it's a film I still enjoy to watch. And even the sequel was decent as well. You know, was it the new batch? Yeah, it's a great film.
I like
it's a
the
great,
new batch.
especially
The new batch, yeah, I like the new batch.
The cinema.
Yeah.
Well-
Seeing it.
Yeah, that was played for all out comedy. So that's
Yeah.
how, they didn't really care.
Yeah.
And that's really and it's really refreshing. I like the second one.
Yeah, it's a great sequel,
Sorry.
and I think the first one has got all the elements to qualify to be a contender. It's a great film, amazing characters, like a proper enjoyable film. I haven't actually introduced my girls to it. I don't know what they would think. If it is kind of scary, ain't it, the characters, but it's not gruesome scary. You know, there's no like crazy blood in it or anything too mental in it.
Yeah. No.
And I'm not going to go on about, because I don't know, like
So-
loads of facts about the film, but I love it as a film. I really enjoy it. It's a great film. So I'm putting Gremlins forward.
Okay. Amelia. Gremlins.
so here's my thing.
Yeah?
Is it a Halloween film or is it a Christmas film? Because Paul and I have had discussions about what's Christmas films and what are not Christmas films. Is Gremlins a Christmas film
Yeah.
or a Halloween?
I mean, I think Gremlins can class as a Christmas film. If someone, I'm happy to listen to that argument that it is a Christmas movie, but I think it is also spooky enough to fall into our category today of spooky vibes.
Okay.
So for me, it falls into this category. And when we do our Christmas films episode, I quite happily listen to that argument.
Okay, that's all right. Just because we've had arguments before about what is a Christmas film and what is not a Christmas film, which can be saved till the Christmas edition. But okay,
Well, that
so
stuff gets heated.
if we're saying it is a Halloween film, then I am going to say yes. I mean, the Gremlins, their whole little personalities are just amazing, and the fact that they all went to watch a Disney film at the cinema was awesome. I mean, it is quite bloody in places when you talk about like the blender.
Oh,
and,
yeah, the blender,
You know,
yeah.
the mum having to attack them. So I think.
Yeah.
So I think maybe Ali, just leave it maybe a couple more years because there's some things that the mum does in the kitchen to the Gremlins that I don't think maybe little kids need to see. So I'd say yes.
Well, that's two. Dan, Gremlins making this
I mean,
list.
I used to want a Gizmo, a little Mogwai when I was a kid. So yeah, yeah, Gremlins. I mean, I was like, it was kind of hovering on my list because again, like, is it a Halloween film? Is it a Christmas film? But yeah, it's probably like, if not the first, one of the first kid-friendly creature merchandising kind of films. The monsters in it are actually the film is actually suitable for kids as opposed to marketing Terminator toys at children and things like that. So, I think it's valid. I think it should go on the list.
Excellent. Well, it's made the list, so that's 3 votes. John, what you said? Yes, the Gremlins.
Yes, I would. I think it's. I think it's the right side of scary. You don't see you see humans get hurt, but you don't see them die. There's not you don't see blood splatter and things like that. You see gremlins exploding in various kitchen appliances, and you see them melting in various light sources. But the bar scene after the cinema and things, it is wonderful. And Phoebe Cates' story about her father leaving her is just heartbreaking. Joe Dante is very, very much a 50s film guy as well. I think the handyman guy in it was big in the 50s in B movies, and also when the dad goes to the inventions thing out of town, you can see Robbie the Robot and things like that from old 50s B movies. It's brilliant. I love it. So yes,
I would have said yes as well. I think Gremlins is great for all of the reasons we've just said. I haven't introduced it to my girls yet. I think it is one of those ones that's on the cusp of. It definitely has its scary moments, but it is family friendly, and I think it'll be a Halloween or a Christmas film in my house, I think, this year. So yeah. So I'm very happy with Gremlins to go on there. And I do this quite often, actually. I skip myself on the nominations. Which I do this. I mean, it's got to happen once on an episode. So we have 5 films already. So I'm gonna try with the 6th. And I had a couple of options on here. I've got a few films like milling around. But I'm gonna go for a film that I remember watching and really enjoying as a child, and genuinely scared me. Now, they have recently remade this movie to not quite as good effect, in my opinion. And like The Addams Family, it also stars Angelica Houston. And it's written by one of the greatest child authors ever. I'm going to nominate The Witches.
Yeah,
the
good film.
Angelica Houston movie, The Witches. About a group... this little boy who has to unseat the Grand High Witch, and all these witches are at a convention in the same place, and they get turned into mice. And I just have so many fond memories of this movie as a kid, but the moment that they reveal themselves, they're witches, and especially Angelica Houston's, that nose on her is just, I was just so scared as a child. I this is a kids movie. It's a book by Roald Dahl. It's for children, and oh my god, my girls have watched this movie and told me that it was too scary, Daddy. But they have watched it. So yes,
well, it's incredibly bleak as well.
Yeah, it is. But for me, I think it definitely falls under this category of spooky vibes. And I think The Witches, not the remake. The remake was okay, but it's not the classic that was with Angelica Houston. So, Ali, The Witches?
I think it's on my list. I think it's a wicked film. We are talking about the original with Rowan Atkinson in it, anyway. I mean, that scene, do you know the scene when he's in the kitchen and he's going to kiss the woman? And he gets really close, and she's got like a massive hairy neck, and he's like, I mean, it is. I think, yeah, it's a great film. It was definitely on my list, and I loved watching it as a kid as well. I think the characters are wicked. I just love the whole thing. Do you know, like how they're hidden? They go into that massive meeting room, and they've got to quickly put their disguised wigs back on, and because they're all bald as well, ain't they?
Yeah, they're all pretty much bald. Yes.
But I think it's a great film, and I agree with you with two things: this film and Roald Dahl as probably the best kids author. Yeah. I think it should be on the list as well.
Excellent. Amelia, do you like The Witches?
So I read the book because I've read everything by Roald Dahl when I was younger, and I absolutely hated the book, and I never watched the film, and I've seen clips of it, and it freaked me out as a child, so I've never watched it. So I'm going to say no. But interestingly, the book and the film have different endings, so maybe I should have watched the film. Because the book does not end well. So I think that's what put me off.
I think the remake...
I'm sorry, it's a no.
Okay. Yeah. The remake takes the book ending, I believe. But yeah.
Yeah, I did not like the book ending, and that's why I was like, I'm not watching the film.
Okay.
Not wasting my time on that.
So what? Does the book...
Dan?
Oh, go on.
Do you like The Witches? Oh, it's a great film.
I haven't seen this film in years. It might even be decades. But that's partially because of how bloody freaky it is. Like, I still hold like there's bits like it's currently quite fashionable for women to have really long fingernails again, right? And I still think I've got a bit of a like a weird thing about long fingernails because of the fingernails in the film. Like I don't know what I'm having all these like almost like throwback things with seeing people around at the moment. But yeah, anyway, I think it's worthy of being on the list.
Nice one. It's made the list. John, would have you said yes to The Witches?
Yes, I would have. But like I say, that beginning is really, really bleak. Where about the kid in the picture and things like that. So I mean, it really buys into its darkness. It's a Nicholas Roeg film. It's from the guy who did Don't Look Now with Donald Sutherland and the girl in the red coat running around Venice, and the man who fell to earth. It's
Excellent. We've got 6 now, so that's 6 movies. My last little fact about The Witches: when I was 18 years old, you'd think I liked my rock and metal music, and I went on holiday to Newquay with 24 people, and we stayed in a board shack that was built for people who were surfing and all sorts of stuff like that. I think I managed to convince 15 people to come down to the hotel at the end of the road and come for a very posh meal when I was 18 years old, because I wanted to go and eat in the hotel that The Witches were filmed in. So I can't quite believe that I managed to do that, but I was just like, it's the hotel where The Witches was filmed. So I went there at 18 years old and had a meal, probably not dressed appropriately for being in that hotel, but I could see it from where I was staying, so I was like, we've got to go.
Did you have the suit?
So yes, that was my.
Did you have the suit, Mr. Paul?
That I took with me. No, I don't think I did, mate. I was not. So we have 6 films. Amelia, can you round the list out? Can you give us the 7th film on Spooky Vibes?
Well, the problem is I've got a slightly controversial choice and I've got a safer choice, and I'm not sure which one to go to. I feel like, okay, I'm going to go the safe choice because I don't think the slightly scarier one will get through. So I am going to, as I mentioned earlier.
Why don't you mention it?
Go on, tell us what your risky one was.
But I've got a good point to argue with this. So it's the da 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 da. It was Jaws.
Oh, okay.
But let me just. So when it was initially released, it was actually a PG film. So it comes under the PG family friendly. Now, clearly, I think we ought to mention it is not safe for little kids. I know a lot of adults who will not go in the water because of that. And also, I think possibly the scariest moment for me in that film is the fact that when that boat, the head appears out the hole in the boat.
Yeah.
I watched it when I was working with you guys in my break on the sofa, and that made me jump. Like everything else, I was fine with the bloods, you know, the people getting disemboweled. That was fine. But the freaky head out the boat, no, I did not like that. So I'm going to put that to one side. But the one I would really like is Addams Family Values, which is the second Addams Family film, and arguably I would say the better one. Sorry, Dan. And that is because I think I just watched that more as a kid. You've got Joan Cusack as the murderer, Debbie. Obviously, you've got Christina Ricci. Christopher Lloyd is Uncle Fester, and he actually makes a Back to the Future reference, which why you would not enjoy that. So when he says at the end, dementia, what a beautiful name, he's actually referring to when the Doc in Back to the Future 3 meets his love interest, Clara, and he says, Clara, what a beautiful name. And for techie people, I think we also need to talk about Morticia's lighting. So you notice in both films, a beam of light falls on her face. It's a parody of an old and popular cinema technique, and that was usually to illuminate a character's face in a moment of intense feeling. And Morticia is supposed to feel intense all the time, so that's why she has special lighting, and apparently it was one of the most difficult effects in the film. So there's many reasons, but I think Addams Family Values should be in there as well as the first part.
Oh, okay, Dan, do you like Addams Family Values?
I mean, yeah, it's a great film. It's a brilliant sequel. I thought it was less fitting just because the first one obviously introduces us to the family. And this one is kind of set more around Thanksgiving and is on camp and stuff, as opposed to being set in the spooky house. So I think, as much as I love Addams Family, and generally if we had infinite spots on the list, I would say yes. I'm going to say no, just because I think there potentially are other films that could take that final spot, as opposed to having two Addams Family films on the list. But yeah, so I'm going to say no.
Okay. John?
Sorry, Amelia.
Values?
Dead to me now, Dan. Dead to me.
Undead.
I love Camp Chippewa. I love Peter McNichol's camping it up with is it Jane? Oh, what's her name? Anyway,
From Mamma Mia.
yeah, they are. Yes, I can't remember her name, but she's amazing as she is. They're brilliant. The whole love affair of Wednesday and her friend with all the allergies, and Debbie is the most evil, conniving bitch ever. Poor Fester. In fact, I think Gomez says it. It's a case of you've turned him into a gibbering wreck. Oh no, it's Morticia. You've turned him into a gibbering wreck. How I envy you. It's yeah, they get kicked out of the house, in fact. And that lighting effect is actually something that Barry Sonnenfeld actually turned around to his lighting guy and said, I don't care if it's not practical. I don't care if that scene would not do that. You are always going to do that to Morticia Addams. So apparently that was right up front. That was part of the character design.
That's one of the brilliant things about it. There's lots of things that don't necessarily make sense, but they're consistent, and it's one of those jokes that I guess it's not really a joke, but yeah, one of the character designs that is just there throughout. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah,
the little subtle things.
Definitely.
I'm now going to say I'm not going to put it on the list.
John, how could you?
No. Actually, for much the same reason. It's a film with a time span over months as opposed to a couple of week periods. It's but I just Yeah, I don't get quite the creepy vibes as I do from the first one. It goes more for the serial killer pastel, and it just doesn't quite work for me.
I mean, pastel colours are quite scary, John.
Okay.
So maybe it's not quite.
Well, you've
Halloween,
seen Debbie.
but I mean, yeah, the decor, and there was I can't remember what the thing, but Morticia was like, fine to enslave Fester, but why have you got all the chins? And yeah, that was things like that, and you don't usually see Joan Cusack in that kind of role, because a lot of things that I associate her with, like kooky characters and sort of School of Rock, and for her to be a very powerful blonde serial killer was just totally different from what I'd seen her in anything else.
Yeah, gross point blank. Yes.
Yes.
Another callback to another podcast.
Yeah.
Yes. I love Addams Family Values as well, and I don't know whether I like this one. I think they're both on a par with each other. I think Joan Cusack does. She's brilliant in the movie. It's Christine Baranski is the lady that you were thinking of, and I even remember, because I am a very big Buffy the Vampire Slayer TV fan, Mercedes McNabb being one of the other children that
Blondie.
teased Wednesday, blonde. Yes, so she was in Buffy as Harmony. But yeah, with all that being said, I also am going to say no, probably because I feel like it's got to be one or the other, and the first one introduced us to the family. So yeah, for me, although I do really love Values, I think it's an equal film, and I think you could quite easily watch them both. And my girls have watched them both and enjoy both. But yeah, I think one Addams Family on the list. So unfortunately, Amelia, it hasn't made the list. Ali, do you like number 2?
I haven't actually. I haven't
like number
seen
2?
it. I haven't seen it.
Well, there you go.
No, Ali.
You do need to watch
know.
number 2. Number 2 is
I
good,
haven't.
Ali.
Yeah, I've never watched it.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, you should. It's good.
I will. Yeah.
So we're still at 6. We're going to try and get one more. Dan?
It's back around to me again,
Yeah,
isn't it?
Do you have the last one to round out this list?
See, well, Sleepy Hollow got knocked off. Now I feel like Tim Burton definitely needs a film on this list. And there are 2 contenders for me. Now there's an obvious one, based with characters who literally live in a Halloween town, but I actually don't feel like that is a Halloween film exclusively. I feel like that's got a lot more going for it as a Christmas film. So I'm going to go with Edward Scissorhands. And I think that if Johnny Depp can't get on with Sleepy Hollow, then he can get on as Edward. And again, it's heartwarming. I don't know that it's necessarily very scary. In fact, it took me a long time to see it because I thought as a kid it was going to scare me because of a character with blades for fingers. I thought it was going to be a really scary film, and actually he's a really sweet character, and it's got enough of the spooky vibes about it that it's fitting for a Halloween film, as do all of Tim Burton's films. But I think it deserves to be on the list.
Cool. John? Edward Scissorhands?
I think he's got one better.
I saw you gesturing, John. I saw you hoping that I was going to say something else.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued to know what that film is. But
yes, there are huge gothic tropes and the Avon lady Diane Weiss walking into the house and finding him and things like that. But I don't find this a scary film. I find it's a love story. It's a family story. I just don't find this scare. I don't find this a scary Halloween type story. So no, I have a Tim Burton one up my sleeve, which we might get to if somebody doesn't say first. And it doesn't have Christmas.
Okay, yeah. Well, I had a Tim Burton one up my sleeve as well. That wasn't this one, but I think that Tim Burton one falls too much on the side of scary, and that one. So, although I think it's potentially a better Tim Burton film, and Michael Keaton and Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin are all
Catherine
excellent,
O'Hara,
John.
Jeffrey Jones, Winona Ryder.
Yes, and Winona Ryder. Yeah, it is a brilliant film, John. But for me, it would fall just that too much of a side of scary. So for me, I think Edward Scissorhands falls into this category pretty much perfectly as the Tim Burton nomination. I think, yeah, it's spooky enough, but also family friendly enough. It is a love story between Winona Ryder and Johnny Depp. Yeah, so for me, I'm going to say yes, Dan. Ali, Edward Scissorhands?
Yeah, 100%. It's my favourite Tim Burton film, and I think it's just an awesome film. I love the character. I saw this in the cinema with my friend at school at the time. I loved it. What was it rated? I can't remember, but I think it was only a great film. I love the character.
It was a PG,
yeah.
And I actually went on a date to see this one.
Did you?
Yeah. I mean, it's a romantic film.
Yeah.
Just don't hold hands.
Did you have scissors?
just don't stay on a waterbed.
Yeah, it's a great film.
So it has 3 votes. It's made the list. We have 7 films.
It makes a list.
Amelia, would have you said yes to Edward Scissorhands?
Oh yeah, of course. It's a fantastic film, and Johnny Depp had to spend 4 months spending 2 hours in makeup, 45 minutes being sewn into his costume, and an hour with the hairdresser every day. So that is dedication for you, definitely. And my sister's a hairdresser, so I would be in a lot of trouble if I said no.
Okay. Well, Edward Scissorhands has rounded out our top 7. We have a top 7 for spooky vibe films. We have The Addams Family. We have Ghostbusters. We have Casper. We have Hocus Pocus, Gremlins, The Witches, and Edward Scissorhands. Now, I'm going to go around very quickly, just naming the film title. We'll see if we have any commonality in our honourable mentions to see if anything else can dive into our mythical 8th spot. So, seeing as Dan nominated that one, John, give me 2 or 3 honourable mentions if you've got any.
I'll give you Wallace and Gromit, The Curse of the Were-Rabbit.
It's a good film.
Beetlejuice is the one we've been alluding to and dancing around, but obviously not. And I would pretty much going to go with those.
Okay. So. Ali, you got anything else left on your list that you would have liked to have mentioned?
I had Beetlejuice as well. I had Teen Wolf, and of course Keenan and Kel. 2 heads are better than none.
I mean, I vote for that one.
Oh, and Little Shop of Horrors. Little Shop of Horrors was on my list as well.
Yeah.
With Rick Moranis again. Who's an awesome actor, ain't he? He's wicked.
Featured on the musicals episode heavily. It's a great film. Amelia, anything that you would have liked to have mentioned?
Yeah, so obviously...
Other than The Big Shark?
I mean, I still think Jaws would be a good film. So as like John, I would say Wallace and Gromit, Curse of the Were-Rabbit. But also I think a really sweet modern family film is Hotel Transylvania. I think it's such a, you've got Adam Sandler, you've got Andy Samberg, it's fantastic. And there's, I think the 4th and last installment is coming out of the sort of franchise is coming out soon. So again, it's very topical and it's very funny and it's just so sweet. It's a lovely thing to watch with your kids.
Nice. Dan, did you have anything left?
So a couple have already been mentioned. Beetlejuice, I stupidly had forgotten, which I might have said yes to, although it's not one I'm as familiar with as Edward Scissorhands, which is why I went with it. And actually, even though Paul, you were saying that you might be a bit too scary, I think it is. I think it might actually be rated a PG or maybe a 12 or something, so it might have just fit into the category. But it's definitely a bit messed up.
Yeah.
It's been downrated since it came out.
That's another one.
So,
again,
yeah.
talking like with the stuff being marketed at kids like Gremlins. I feel like I grew up watching a Beetlejuice cartoon.
Yep, there was a
So
Beetlejuice
it's
cartoon.
another one of those ones that like you'd see it as a kid and you'd think, oh, I really want to watch the film. Oh no, I'm not allowed to because it's scary. But yeah, anyway, back to the point. Is anything else on the list? I watched Haunted House with Eddie Murphy recently. Well, no, Haunted Mansion.
Mansion.
Yeah, and
Haunted
that was pretty good. And the Hotel Transylvania I really enjoyed as well, which Amelia mentioned. So that potentially is one a contender. For people to watch if they're struggling for things to find to watch.
Yeah.
I had Beetlejuice in and around there. I was thinking about it, but as I said, I just think there are some really like when they're ghosts, and you see when they're in the waiting room, there is a lot of freaky ass scary things for young kids. And even when they're singing Deo near the end of the movie, and those hands shoot out those prawn cocktails.
It's
oh
awesome.
My god, that scared me as a kid. Yeah, it's great, but it was.
If you can't traumatize your kids on Halloween, when can you traumatize them?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So I'd kind of discounted Beetlejuice for that, and I've discounted this movie as well, which I'm sure I watched far too young. But Tremors came into my head as a movie too. It's pretty spooky. There's big giant worms under the ground eating people, and it's a great film with Kevin Bacon. But the one that I actually think possibly would have been my next nomination is a Tom Hanks movie called The Burbs, where his neighbours that move in next door, and he's convinced that they are murdering people, and goes pretty crazy trying to convince that fact. I think is a brilliant turn from Tom Hanks, and I think if anybody's looking for an early Tom Hanks classic around Halloween, I think you couldn't go far wrong with The Burbs as well. So that's one that I probably would have put forward next. But we have our top 7, which is The Addams Family, Ghostbusters, Casper, Hocus Pocus, Gremlins, The Witches, and Edward Scissorhands. So now we've got to lose 2 of these films. So, Dan, since we started with you, which is least deserving of this list?
It's got to be The Witches, unfortunately. It's the one I'm least familiar with.
The Witches. John?
I'm going to stick with my guns and say Edward Scissorhands.
Okay. Ali, least deserving.
Casper. For being the most boring ghost.
That's the new marketing campaign.
The new one for Casper, yeah. Amelia, what's least deserving?
I agree with Dan, The Witches. Not on board with that.
Okay. This is hard.
It's not often you get Paul saying this.
No. Because I'm going to say Edward Scissorhands as well. Which means, Ali, you have to choose, because you're outlying vote, between The Witches and Edward Scissorhands to be taken off of this list.
Oh, they're both amazing films. And I'd rather see some other ones go. So Edward Scissorhands and The Witches.
You got to make that tough choice.
I'm going to say... The thing is, I think Edward Scissorhands is a better film than The Witches, yeah? But The Witches is a better... maybe suited to the topic, if that makes sense. So I'm going to go with that, and I'm going to vote out Edward Scissorhands. Even though I think Edward Scissorhands is a better film.
Edward Scissorhands has gone. So I know Ali's pick of Casper. I've got the witches from Dan and Amelia. So, John, what's least deserving of what's left?
Okay, so we've got the Addams Family, Ghostbusters, Casper, Gremlins, Witches, and what's the last one?
And your nomination of Hocus Pocus.
This is the bit I really struggle with. This every time I listen to this, I'm like going through my head. What's left? What's left?
I'm going to say the Witches.
So the Witches has gone, which means we have our top 5 spooky vibes. We have the Addams Family, we have Ghostbusters, we have Casper, we have Hocus Pocus, and we have Gremlins. Ali's already said Casper, so we're going to rank these now from bottom to top. So number 5 pick, Ali's picked Casper. I've already said that I'm going for Casper. So Dan, what's number 5?
Gremlins.
Gremlins, okay. John?
I'm going to say Casper as well.
Okay. And Amelia, what would have you gone for?
Well, I'm not going to put Casper. I'd go for Hocus Pocus.
Okay, that's fine. So, Casper is our number 5 on this list. I've already got 2 votes there. So, Casper is number 5. Amelia and Dan have voted. So, Ali, what's number 4?
Hocus Pocus. Yeah, definitely Hocus Pocus, I reckon, yeah.
Your options are Hocus Pocus. Okay. There we go. That was easy. John?
I'm going to say Hocus Pocus as well.
I would have gone, honestly, for Gremlins. But that means that Hocus Pocus is number 4 on this week's list. We have a top 3 to find. Me and Dan have now voted for Gremlins. So, of what's left, Ali, Addams Family, Ghostbusters, and Gremlins. What comes at number 3?
Addams Family.
Amelia.
Gremlins.
And John.
Gremlins.
Okay, Gremlins is our number 3. So we're now choosing between the Addams Family and Ghostbusters for our number 1 spooky vibes films. Ali's already given me Addams Family as his number 2, so I'm guessing that Ghostbusters is Ali's number 1.
Yes, 100%. It's definitely the better film of the 2.
Amelia, number 1. Is it Addams Family or is it Ghostbusters?
This is really hard because I really like both of them. But because I wanted the second version, I'd say Addams Family number 1, Ghostbusters number 2, but I'd be equally happy with either.
Okay, so we got 1 vote each. John, Addams Family or Ghostbusters?
My number 1 on this list is the Addams Family.
Okay. I had Ghostbusters as my number 1. So we have 2 votes each. And I've done this intentionally because Dan picked this topic.
Dan?
So Dan, you get to pick what is our number 1 spooky vibe
Dan.
movie. Is it the Addams Family or is it Ghostbusters?
They're not called creepy, kooky, mysterious, and spooky for nothing. It's got to be the Addams Family. Number 1.
Nice one.
Oh!
I love both
Thank
films.
you, Lurch.
I love both films, but yeah, you can't get much spookier and fun than the Addams Family.
Excellent. So running down our list. Number 5, Casper. Number 4, Hocus Pocus. Number 3, Gremlins. Number 2, who you gonna call? Those Ghostbusters. And number 1, the Addams Family. Da-da-da-da.
Run the sting!
There we go. Thank you very much, guys.
Amazingly timed. Amazingly timed.
Wow, that was a good list. Thank you everybody for joining us. Would anybody like to say anything to sign off and got anything to plug? Ali.
I would say I'm most disappointed, first of all, that Keenan and Kel didn't even make it onto the list. You can't get excited and enthusiastic about Keenan and Kel.
I know, Ali,
Keenan and Kel for orange soda. Yes. No, wicked. It was wicked being on.
I
Paul and
backed
Mr.
you
John.
all the way,
Thanks for
Ali.
having
Don't
us.
forget that.
Yeah, that is true. And I would have said Addams Family too, even though I've never seen it, to get Casper out, but it didn't go that way. But I think Ghostbusters, it's proper funny and it's got all the scares in it for me. But I love Mr. Dan, so I can't hate him for that. Yeah, thanks for having me, man. It was really good fun.
Excellent,
Thanks.
mate.
And also, if you want to watch 16 Bits and Bobs, talking about old school retro games, then check out 16 Bits and Bobs. But also loving 5 on Film. Thank you very much.
Excellent, mate. Thank you for joining us. And yes, definitely check Ali out. Amelia, anything to say to sign off?
No, I think it's been, considering that I don't tend to like watching Halloween films, this has been a great excuse to remember which films I do like. I don't think I've got anything to plug, but obviously if you've enjoyed the podcast that you've been listening to today, then please like and subscribe and join in the conversation. And thank you for inviting me.
Always welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. Dan, thanks for picking our topic.
Yeah, welcome. You're welcome. It's a fond favourite of mine. So I hope that there's plenty of stuff there for people to watch over the next month or so. And then a couple of little hints at things to watch between Halloween and Christmas as well. In terms of things to plug, I suppose if it's with the pandemic that we've had recently, I've not really been able to do much of it. But if you like heavy music, then I film live shows on my YouTube, Nefarious Youth. If you want to check that out, then please do. Otherwise, have a good Halloween.
Indeed. And John?
Yes, we are at 5 on Film Podcast on all the social medias. We are at 5 on Film Podcast at gmail.com. If you like us, give us a rate, give us a message. We've had a couple on our Spielberg one. I seem to have stirred a hornet's nest on that one about the Goonies, weirdly. But please, if you like us, tell us. If you don't like us, tell us. Don't get banned. We have been doing this for a few months now. We have Tom Cruise. We have James Bond. We have a special review on No Time to Die, the last Daniel Craig. That one's interesting. And haunted house movies if you're wanting a little something more grown up. In fact, a lot more grown up than this. But seriously, the more you interact with us, the more you interact with iTunes and Spotify and things like that, the more chance we have to do this again. And any suggestions, please, any topics. And you guys, thank you very much for joining us today. I'm hoping we're going to see you again soon.
Definitely. I will second that. Thank you very much for everybody joining us. And yeah, as John said, chat to us, tell us what you'd like to hear, and hopefully we can do it. We've got a viewer submission hopefully coming down the pike soon. We're going to try and do some World War II movies with a returning favourite guest. And we're going to try and break down Al Pacino down the pike with another special guest. And then we're going to roll on into Christmas. So
Robert De Niro.
Ali will be here for Robert De Niro down the line.
And because I've had a conversation with you, De Niro versus Pacino. Oh, it's got to be De Niro.
I think. Well, we'll get our top 5 Pacino, and then we'll get our top 5 De Niro, and then we'll have that battle, Ali. I think that's a good one for down the line. So thank you very much for joining us, and thank you for watching and listening. Goodbye. All views expressed in this podcast are that of the individual and do not represent the views of any entity whatsoever which they have been or will be affiliated with in the future.